Greetings, friends! In today's video, My Angry Coffee Cup will tell you how to take your character to the next level by editing your backstory. Take it away, Angry Coffee Cup.
Here is the twist that makes the trick really work at your table. Give your character something personal, and then cut your backstory. Don't cut it out completely, but cut it down. Way down. Slice that sucker to the bone. The more you put in your backstory, the more you run the risk of making things way too complicated, and the more you tax your poor game master. Especially if you are starting the campaign at low levels. It's like my middle school English teacher used to say, backstory is like a skirt. Gotta be long enough to cover the basics, but short enough to keep it interesting. The counterintuitive truth is, the longer and more involved your backstory, the more interest you suck out of your character. My personal rule, if you can't give your backstory in 4 sentences or less, you have way too much. This way, the real richness of your character comes out during gameplay. See, if you stuff your backstory full of detail, all of your character's richest bits have already happened before you even get to the table. But if you keep the backstory short, it leaves more room to make the richness happen at the table with your game master and the other players, and that is what will enrich the whole experience. As a few of you know, I like to scour the internet in search of fun TTRPG stories to share, and I came across this gem that I think demonstrates the point the best. I was sick to death of the sexy sorceress trope. What if I had a sorceress who wasn't sexy? What if she was downright ugly, and smelled bad, and was really aggressive? Thus, Taria the War Mage was born. She'd led a rough life even before she enlisted in the Imperial military to become a battle mage. They'd turn her into a killing machine, and now that she was through, she was ready to turn to a life of sky piracy. She liked to smoke, spit, drink, cuss, and fight. But if you got past her boorish demeanor, she had a heart of gold and would go through hell for her friends. One time during the campaign, a job went sideways. We found ourselves on the run and hiding out in a storm sewer. Realizing that we were just outside of a major city, I sighed and turned to the GM. "Is this city where I think it is?" The GM affirmed with a smile. "Guys, follow me. I have a place we can go." She led them through the storm sewers, up into the city above, and through the slums. "It's like you've been here before, Taria," someone commented. She only grunted in reply. Finally, she led the party to a run-down bar. When she entered, you could have heard a pin drop. The barkeep froze, as if he'd seen a ghost. "Taria? Hello, Daddy." It was a touching moment of roleplay. The other players had all assumed she just congealed from a puddle of sweat and chewing tobacco one day, and now she'd led them home. Bam! Perfect example. Her backstory is 2 sentences. She grew up rough and enlisted to become a battle mage. She has retired from the army and now she is a sky pirate. Done. Her backstory is very typical and edgelordy, but her little tidbit runs in contrast to that trope. Her dad is still alive, and she calls him Daddy. She still has family, and there's tenderness and affection there. The interest lies in all the obvious questions. Does she have any other family? Where are they? What was she like as a little girl? Realizing she was once a tender child seems like such a revelation, even though we know she was because we all were. Any blanks that needed filling in can be filled in quickly in one conversation, or if the player and the GM are good at improv, they can do that stuff on the fly, and it keeps the game momentum going and makes the other players a part of your character's ongoing creation. And that is the real trick, my friends. The true magic is understanding that your character creation is ongoing. It is being made every single session when you're at the table with your party mates, not just the stuff you wrote and rolled before the game even begins. This keeps the game's momentum and makes the other players a part of your character's ongoing creation, which gives all of the players more stakes in the game and more investment in your character. Making the artwork for Taria was an absolute blast. I went with simple character portrait because I didn't want any other visual information to distract. The drawing itself was also something of a relief. I too am tired of the sexy sorceress trope, and as an artist, I think the sexy sorceress is kinda boring. Find a special reference photo, exaggerate the anatomy to an impossible or nigh impossible degree, finish up with a comically skimpy outfit, or eschew clothes altogether. To be clear, I'm not against characters or art like that. Like most every fantasy artist of a certain age, I grew up loving Frank Frazetta, and this kind of art was his bread and butter. But when it's time to move my pencil on some paper, it just feels so overdone and old hat to me.
Overdone and dry! Overdone and dry! Overdone and dry!
If that's not true for you, then by all means, draw all of the sexy sorceresses that your heart desires and put them where people can see them. It wouldn't be such a well-trodden trope if people didn't still love it. Grizzled old war witch, on the other hand, not some wizened hag, but a tough-as-nails magical fighter. That is interesting as hell to me. And because she doesn't have to be pretty, I can play a lot more fast and loose with the shapes and the posture that I'm drawing. It frees me up to give her a high forehead, scoliosis, and facial scars. And of course she's missing a finger. All the fireballs she has launched across her career, what are the odds she never rolled a natural one and had it blow up in her hand? Now, the cigar-chomping badass might be as old hat for you as the sexy sorceress is for me, and that's fine, different strokes. But from my perspective, the cigar-chomping badass, that's not cliche, that's classic. Now, if you have enjoyed this grizzled old war witch as much as I, then the original art will be for sale in my store on my website at coffeeandrage.biz. Click store at the top. And if you have a story of a particularly unexpected or powerful character moment that you witnessed at the table, please drop that story in the comments. I collect my favorites and edit them together to share later. Playing the grizzled old fighter is a fairly easy role to play. But if you're looking for a challenge, then learn how to play a cowardly character without ruining the party by clicking this video right here.
Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and may your dice roll high and never be cursed.